just found out what the truth is. Now I can't be Muslim or Buddhist, I can't be Christian or Jewish. You gotta find out who you is. The wise to me, they look foolish. My girl modest now, she wasn't nudist. My crib is with her booth is. I give her milk cause they toothless. Keep the meat from my brutins. It's all truth, no boosting. All natural, no juicing. Hey, we just might hit up a ring.
Okay, so this video I'm going to do right here, it's going to be talking about the golden rule. So what I'm going to be digging into is what the issue with the golden rule is. When I was younger anyway, I was always taught that the golden rule was the standard, right? That's what we're supposed to be living by. Most of us know the golden rule is, you know, treat your brother how you would want to be treated. Don't do bad to anyone else that you wouldn't want to have done to you. And that all makes sense, obviously, right? That you wouldn't want to go out and slash somebody's tires or something like that, or commit adultery with somebody's wife or anything like that, lest those things be bestowed upon you, which they very well could if you're living in a wicked way. But as far as I know, I've never heard of a platinum rule. So the golden rule is what? The gold standard, right? That's the top. That's the like the creme of the creme, right? So I'm going to show you what the issue with that being the top dog as far as the rules that we're supposed to follow. And of course, I'm using precepts. I misspoke in my last video, precept upon precept. You can find that in Isaiah chapter 28. And I correct that in my first video, in my second video. But yeah, that's not golden rule. That's not the top dog. So I'm gonna be digging into that. So let me get to it. So you see it right here, golden rule, the golden rule, right? So one of the issues is that the golden rule is found in many different beliefs, right? So, you know, you got the symbol of Christianity, and one thing I want to touch on briefly, when it comes to the Most High, there is no symbolism. There's just faith. You do by what is unseen, right? All those scriptures talk about that. Live by faith, not by what is seen. Focus on the unseen. The most important part of us is the unseen. So all these images and symbols and all that stuff, false. So you got Jewishness here, right? Judaism. You got Christianity here, Islam, Muslim here, and so when you get to talking about the golden rule, you can find it in all the major religions. So that breeds into, hey, who has it right? We all focusing on this, but that's an easy thing to follow. Anybody can do that. Anybody can just say, hey, I wouldn't want this done to me. I'm not going to do it to him. So you see this here. So this is one issue right here when you have that as the golden rule. And I'm gonna revert back to this. So let's get it, because I'm all about the scriptures. Precept upon precept, precept upon precept. So let's get into it. So when you go online or whatever like that, you search the golden rule in Christianity, or try to find it in the Bible, try to find it in the New Testament, things like that, right? You'll come across this right here, which is essentially what all these other religions beliefs are saying, right? I'm gonna just read a couple. The nature only is good when it shall not do unto another whatever is not good for itself. Do unto others as you would have them do unto you. No one of you is a believer until he desires for his brother what he desires for himself. Like I said, all these things say the same thing, basic concept, right? You're not going to have a moral setup that's going to tell you to go out and kill someone, like, just because you want to. Like, that's simple. But the Most High got a higher way. So let's get back into the scriptures. Okay, so I'm going to take you right here into Matthew chapter 7. And I'm always tell you in every video, man, read the whole thing. But this is where you get it from. This is where it comes from in the Christianity, in that belief anyway. Therefore, verse 12 right here. Therefore, all things whatsoever ye would that men should do to you, do ye even so to them. For this is the law and the prophets, and we should be doing this. I'm going to briefly touch on this, This is what these Pharisees and Sadducees, again, on my first video, what is loving Yah? That's what these brothers were not doing. They weren't loving each other. They were keeping the commandments, but they weren't loving each other. So it says, touches on it right here in Matthew verse 7, right? Do unto others as you want to have to do to them. But I'm going to show you what the issue with that is, right? So you got to stay with the scriptures, right? Building the precept, right? So I got it lined out for you already. Let's get it. Let's get it. Matthew chapter 22. Remember, this is the life of the Messiah. This is the Messiah's telling us how to live, because he is he's a perfect example. He walked the way we're supposed to in the law, because he came to fulfill it. Check that out in my first video. What is loving Yah? So again, I break this down in my first video, but when the 34 right here. But when the Pharisees had heard that he had put the Sadducees to silence, they were together. Then one of them, 35, then one of them, which was a lawyer, asked him a question, tempting him, saying, Master, which is the great commandment in the law? So the top dog commandment, the very top one, what is it? But we taught, or at least I was taught anyway, this golden rule, because I've never heard of a platinum rule. They've never taught me about no platinum rule. But the law keepers of the time asked him what was the greatest commandment. So let's see what the Messiah says the top dog commandment is. He says, thou shalt love thy Elohim, the Most High, Yah, with all thy heart, and with all thy soul, and with all thy mind. And if you look at my first video again, I'm going to keep referencing it because this is very important. If you go to 1 John 5 and 3, 1 John chapter 5 verse 3, it'll tell you loving the Most High is keeping his commandments. So the most important thing that we're supposed to be doing, as a matter of fact, I'm gonna go to it anyway. I wasn't going to, but I'm gonna go to it anyway. To show you what this first, to extrapolate and show you really what this first commandment is about. First John chapter 5 verse 3. For the love of Yahuwah, for this is the love of Yahuwah, that we keep his commandments, and his commandments are not grievous. So again, the Messiah says the platinum commandment. If you want to have a gold one, you got to have a platinum one, because he says the great one is loving the Most High with, right here, 37, loving the Most High with all thy heart, with all thy soul, and with all thy mind. I'm going to click it again, 1 John 5 and 3, to extrapolate and show you again, precept. For this is the love of Yahuwah. This is the loving him, keeping his commandments. That's the top dog. I'm going to precept this one more time, so I'm going to add one more bullet to this. Right? I'm going to take you to Ecclesiastes. This is a book written by Solomon, King Solomon. There was no man wise like him in his time for a long time. All this man prayed for was wisdom to understand. So let's go into his book, Ecclesiastes. Again, this is the 12th chapter, precept, verse 13. Let us hear the conclusion of the whole matter. Fear Yahuwah, 13 right here. I'm even highlight here for you. Fear, wrong one. My bad, y'all. Fear Yahuwah and keep his commandments. For this is the whole duty of man. That's the whole duty of man, right there. That's the whole duty of man. Fear the Most High and keep his commandments. I'll read it one more time. Fear Yahuwah, keep his commandments. Keeping his commandments is loving him. That is what? This is the whole duty of man. That is the great commandment, to love him, right? I just took you back to Matthew. chapter 22, where he says, loving him with all thy heart is the great commandment. And one more time to John 5:3, that we keep his commandments. That is loving him. That's the primo one. Not loving your brother, but that's important because that keeps you from being judgmental, right? That allows you to escape from judging your brother harshly, because as we know, if you judge harshly, then you will be judged harshly. Okay, so I'm gonna just continue that one right there. It says 39, and the second is like unto it. Second, as in beneath. 1, 2, platinum, and if this is gonna be gold, it's underneath the platinum one. All right, that thou shalt love thy brother as thy love thyself. So I'm gonna break this down real quick. So if I'm focused on treating my brother as myself, and I'm putting his commandments second, then I'm not focusing on his commandments, right? Because I'm focusing on my brother, right? So that leaves way for me to say, okay, but I don't want to be judged in doing what I'm doing or whatever like that. So, okay, whatever you're doing, that's cool. You know, I don't want to put too much pressure on you. I don't want to do too much to you or whatever like that. We don't want to keep up this platinum standard because we're focusing on each other. So what I see in this golden rule is the roles are being switched, because what we're supposed to be doing is meditating. We're supposed to be meditating on his commandments, man. We're supposed to be meditating on his laws, and because his laws is what keeps us clean from the world. You know, so we're not clean from the world. When a brother does something that is against the great commandment, then I'm not going to be able to identify it for him. Neither am I going to be able to identify it for myself. So that's the problem. And that's how they have been allowed to, one of the ways anyway, to push the law aside, push his great commandment aside, because they say, hey, just focus on each other. So if we focus on each other, we're not going to rob, we're not going to steal, we're not going to should not be committing adultery, things of that sort. Obvious things that we should not be doing. But when it comes to focusing on his holy days and doing all the things that he really wants us to do in order to keep ourselves clean, if I'm not doing that, I can't help my brother stay clean. But if I'm focusing on the platinum commandment, then I'm keeping myself clean, and then I'm going to do to my brother as I want him to do for me. Hey, brother, look, you know the Most High don't like that. You know he ain't about that. You need to let me help you clean this up. And that's how my brother's going to treat me. Instead of just keeping the platinum commandment and being reckless towards my brother. Hey, bro, you jacked up, da 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 da. Hey, you ain't nothing, ba 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 ba, like that. And that's how we not supposed to be. That's how we not supposed to be. So you gotta have both, but you gotta keep the platinum. You gotta keep the great commandment, which is right here, 36, the great commandment in the law, loving him, keeping his commandments with all your heart, all your soul, and all your mind. That's what we gotta be doing. So if we're doing that, then we can properly do the second commandment. If we're not doing that, then we're just men pleasers. We're just, hey, let me help you out. Let me do this. You doing that? All right, that's cool, whatever. You do you. We're not supposed to be doing us. We're supposed to be doing the first commandment. All right. Last thing I'm going to precept with that on this topic is Galatians, more New Testament. And man, see, I'm telling you to keep the commandments. I'm telling you showing you that you should be keeping the Torah, keeping the commandments, and it's all New Testament stuff, man. All New Testament, with the exception of Ecclesiastes. Galatians chapter 1, and this is what that golden rule leads to. It leads to this right here. Keep doing that. Leads to 10 right here. For do I now persuade men, or do I persuade the Most High? Or do I seek to please men? For if I yet pleased men, I should not be the servant of the Messiah, Christ, Yahusha, right? He told me to keep his great commandment. By keeping the second commandment as the golden commandment, as the top commandment, then you become a men pleaser. This guy's doing this, it's okay. He does him, he does whatever. You know, he likes it this way. He likes to do this way. You know, I'm not gonna judge him, whatever like that. But you can't have the order removed for these things, man. And it's plain and as straight as forward as it can get right here in Matthew chapter 22. All right. You know, that leads to being a men pleaser here in Galatians, to us being men pleasers and allowing whatever to be whatever, and not keeping the first commandment, which is, go back here to Ecclesiastes chapter 12. This is Solomon's book again. This is the whole duty of man, to fear Yahuwah and keep his commandments. Keeping his commandments is loving him. And if you're not loving him, then you're breaking the first commandment, and you can't properly do the second commandment. There's an order to things. Yahuwah has an order to things. And if things are out of order, that's why the world is out of order. That's why everybody can do whatever they want to do. And that's why all these religious man-made ideas are able to thrive, because you put the second thing first, you put the first thing second, and putting the first thing second removes Yahuwah and all his holy ways, and that there is worship is taking the creation and putting it before the creator. That is also, I'm gonna show you one last thing here in Galatians that is doing this right here. 7. We're back in Galatians. I'm going to show you this right here. Perverting the gospel of Christ. Perverting the gospel. Galatians chapter 1, if you want to know what it is. Verse 7. Perverting the gospel, which is not another, but there be some that trouble you and would pervert the gospel of Christ. Golden rule going before the great rule, or the second commandment going before the first commandment, that's perverting his gospel. Okay, so precept upon precept, we're gonna keep building. I'm gonna keep showing y'all, man, the commandments are real. The commandments are real. That's what your Messiah, that's what your Savior says. Keep the commandments. All right, man, y'all keep reading, stay on top of it, and I'm gonna keep working for you. Let's get it.